it's a different situation. Here in Sweden, at least, the freedom of press is really deeply rooted. And so that's why if they attack us, they will attack us more with that kind of spin, you know. They will not attack us with courts. They will attack us with a spin and trying to take down our reputation. That's how they work in the modern. These cases were in the 70s, so the workers are already dying out. So in many ways, Dole has already won that fight.
Yeah.
But my hope is that the film and the fight of the banana workers, because the fight has been there all the time, that their fight is improving the conditions of other banana workers, or the banana workers of today, and farm workers of today. Because that's what maybe their fight was not meant to be won in that sense, you know. But as I went down to Nicaragua and showed the film for the workers, they were extremely happy. They were happy that somebody had seen and reported their struggle, you know. That meant a lot for them, even if they were not winning, you know, money-wise. It was still some kind of victory that their story was heard. And that's something we should remember also as journalists, that just to tell people's story makes their struggle worth something. I mean, first of all, I've been working on. I've been working a lot in Latin America, and so in one way, the story of the bananas, of the oppression around the bananas, is well known. The story, it's a classical documentary story.
Right.
That, you know, the banana companies came in and they logged all the timber and they killed off. You know, I mean, it's been, you know, the name of the Banana Republic is well known, so it's nothing new. The new angle was some Swedish journalist who was working in in Nicaragua. They contacted me and told me about the story. And I speak Spanish, and I worked a lot in Latin America before. So for me, and I also worked a lot in Nicaragua during the revolution. So I've been there a lot. So for me, it was easy to go to connect it, and I found it quite intriguing with this kind of American lawyers representing banana workers. It was like a new angle on a classical story, and so that's how it all started. Yeah, I started to do research, and then I found out that this Juan Dominguez was the guy representing the banana workers, and this is and that, of course, that message from the banana workers that the workers got sterile and sick. That message is of course very bad for their business. So they tried to find a way to shift the focus away and start to talk about a lot of other things, you know. So it's a very classical method. So I all the time understood that it was not about me. They were not. I mean, they were using me, but in the end, it was because they were afraid of the message from the banana workers. So when journalists maybe wanted to turn that angle around, they found out maybe, oh shit, this is a lot of work to do to turn around this angle, this news angle, or maybe it's too risky because it's also risky. Maybe my boss won't like me to get into trouble.
Yeah.
And maybe my boss will see that there is a huge company being really aggressive. And maybe this huge company, they might be right because, you know, so this kind of, they created a situation where a lot of people, journalists, but also people in the doc world, believed that I was not a responsible filmmaker. So they managed to make people believe in their spin. So it wasn't only with. I mean, you could of course say that American journalists are lazy or scared or coward, but it's more complex than that. Most journalists are lazy. Most journalists just do copy and paste all over the world, all the time, and they've always been doing it. That's nothing new. And when there are a more complicated situation, you, as a journalist, you have one choice: is to work really hard, dig deep into the story, invest a lot of time if you want to turn a story around. We tried to get people who could do that, but journalists don't have so much time any longer, you know.
Yeah.
So they are. It's also a kind of economy around it. So it's and so even back here in Sweden, where almost every journalist kind of I mean, the angle in the US was Swedish filmmaker has made a big mistake, making that the banana workers lawyer is a crook. That's kind of their story about that. That was the story they sold in with success.
Yeah.
In Sweden, the story was little Swedish filmmaker against a big American. So that was like a David and Goliath.
Right.
Of course, then the sympathy is more on my side. But no Swedish journalist actually went to find out more about the banana workers. And this is something we have to remember, that freedom of speech and freedom of press is in the constitutions of almost every. So it's like the fundamenta of the constitution. So that we can talk about the First Amendment. Don't bully them to silence. It's a classical way of doing it, and it worked. So they were also, I mean, in many ways, the film festival were also a victim, because it's a very rich story. There are many new angles to make.
Yeah.
Out of the banana case. There is a lot of facts out there, and I could give them tons of research material if they wanted to. Much work, That's the story. So nobody was ready to do the work because the banana workers were not their core market, and that's a very sad thing. I think I have the right to tell a story about the effect of the consumption of bananas in my own country on the workers in Nicaragua. I think I have the right to tell that story, and basically, the story that I tell is not sensational at all, because as you said, the fact is really easy to. It's easy to. You can just Google it and you can find the fact.
Yeah.
So I'm not really. I'm not bringing anything new out. I'm just bringing it out. If you see my point, I bring it out, and of course that's scary for them because it's facts that everybody can find. But I make a package around it that then it becomes more dangerous for them because it like reaches to the hearts of the people, and it has an extreme impact here in Sweden and in many other countries. The consumer of bananas the consumption has changed a lot, and fair trade bananas has been like 600% up here in Sweden after that, the release of the film. So it's been a huge impact. But I couldn't fear for my life. And you should remember that, again, you talked about the value of different kind of lives. For a big company trying to be hostile towards a white Swedish filmmaker has a much higher price than to kill a local union leader or so on.
Right.
It's and they are big brands, and they don't want to risk their brand, and it would be a bit risky to do aggressive things towards me. They try to take down my reputation. That's a different story. Yeah. So they invested a lot of money into destroy my reputation, and that's what they are. And they were partly successful in the U.S., but they were in the overall they were not successful at all. So it's and I'm happy for that. So that's enough.